Let's talk about Marie Laveau, the voodoo queen of New Orleans. Y'all see what I did there?
Marie Laveau still walks among them.
And on the very property.
The fact that she still walked and roamed the streets of New Orleans is definitely real.
Written in looping script. Welcome to New Orleans, Jonathan. You'll never leave.
Do something with it.
It's just money coming to me easily. Money coming in and needing me. Money coming in repeatedly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me frequently. Money coming in to be with me. Money coming in secretly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me always. Money coming in all day. Money coming in all paid. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me frequently. Money coming in to be with me. Money coming.
Let's talk about Marie Laveau, the voodoo queen of New Orleans. Y'all see what I did there? Now, if you're from New Orleans, if you've watched American Horror Story, or if you just know your history, you would know exactly who this black queen was. But if you don't, I'm here to enlighten you. She was many things. A dedicated practitioner of voodoo, a healer, an herbalist, an entrepreneur, a prominent female religious leader and activist, and she also did root work and would conjure Native American and African spiritualism, as well as Louisiana voodoo and traditional Roman Catholicism. She was Catholic. And she also owned a beauty salon. Now, if you watched American Horror Story, the Coven season, Angela Bassett played her, and she did an excellent job. You would see how she basically owned the salon on the show, basically as her cover-up job. But really, she was much more than just a hairstylist, y'all. But she took on many wealthy clients, and I felt like that's really how she got her word out there too, and her clientele by, people coming into her hair salon. And even though people already knew her, but she would get many wealthy clients to come to her hair salon. And there are still descendants of Marie Laveau living today. And they're extremely proud of their heritage, and they educate and enlighten and still teach to this day. But people would literally travel from all over. I'm talking about wealthy people would travel all over for the help of Marie Laveau. They would come to her for fertility issues. Back then, you could go to a doctor, but their technology, they weren't that advanced. They would literally come to her if they needed help with fertility reasons, with financial reasons, if they just need some advice. I mean, who don't want advice from the voodoo queen? They would come to her for family affairs, for her to grant them wishes. Anything that you could possibly desire, you could come to her, pay her, and your wish will be granted. And she's buried in a cemetery in St. Louis, which is extremely popular. Like I said, people from all over come to visit her grave. They leave offerings, they leave her all type of flowers, and they ask for wishes. It's a lot of stuff that people do, but it is a tourist attraction. And she also has different little shops and knick-knack shops in New Orleans that people come to try to, pay respect, and they just find her extremely interesting. And it states that she was born in 1801, but some people said that they believe that she was born in the late 1700s. Now, some may say the woman in this picture is her daughter, is her, but rumor has it no one has an exact picture of what Marie looks like.
Hey guys, welcome back to All Things Jenny. I'm Jenny. So some of the locals in New Orleans believe that Marie Laveau still walks among them, and some of them even believe that Beyonce might be a reincarnation of Marie Laveau because of the resemblance, because of everything.
Greetings, multiple gateways from New Orleans here, fortune teller, psychic medium. Anyway, what I want to share with y'all really quick is a story about Marie Laveau. Now, let me tell y'all something. I know so many people have been in competition to take this woman title and just want to be the next voodoo queen of New Orleans. I'm going to be real with y'all. I don't think it's going to happen for anybody. Only because this woman has such a huge legacy. And the fact that she still walked and roamed the streets of New Orleans is definitely real. And she's also a shapeshifter. Let me tell you something. A lot of my friends actually live in the French Quarter. They grew up there. They families, from their grandma, great-grandma, granddaddies, everybody, have always lived in the French Quarter. It's so many stories that I can share with y'all about this lady. That it's so much. I can't even mention it all in this video. But what I can tell you is go to them French Quarters late at night sometimes. Camp out. Because you might not see them on the first time. Maybe not even the second night. I guarantee you, if you stay for a whole week, you will definitely see her. Marie Laveau, yes ma'am, all day long. All day. So many locals have seen her laid over in the night, roam and walk in the street, but she also can transform into something else. She shapeshifts as well. When you go to Google, put in the queen, the voodoo queen of New Orleans, her name still comes up. And Google speaks of her as now, present. They don't even speak of her from the past. They don't use past tense for her at all. So, you know, that's amazing. And it also lets you know that she still roams the streets. And the spirit world is very real. And that she hasn't went anywhere. You know, so that's just something to take into consideration. I think the story is amazing. So, just want to share.
So they got this house over here on St. Anne Street in the French Quarter. And on the very property that this house sits on, once sat the house of voodoo queen Marie Laveau. Now, this house was built in the early 1900s after the house that Marie Laveau lived in was demolished. But that doesn't stop all these people from coming over here and putting all these hair ties and these hair clips on the house because it's supposed to bring good luck. Now, some say this house was a gift to Marie Laveau by a rich bro who she helped his son get off a murder charge with some voodoo spells. And then some say it was actually her grandmother's house and she was raised here and she raised her kids here. Now, the house that currently sits on the property was built on the foundation of the house Marie Laveau lived in. And some say her spirit is still present. And some have even claimed to see her ghost. And if you want to check out the area over in Bayou St. John where she used to do the rituals, you could jump on one of our tours, hit up our website.
I have a crazy theory. I think Beyonce was Marie Laveau in one of her past lives, and I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. Disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only. Also, the picture at the bottom left corner, I've seen people say it's not her, but I don't know because they said she didn't take any pictures for certain reasons, but this lady kind of favors her if it's not Marie Laveau or Marie Laveau. But I just use these two pictures, this one on the right and this one at the bottom left corner, just for references and examples. So Marie Laveau, or Marie Laveau, she was born on September 10th, 1801 in New Orleans, Louisiana. She was also a Virgo and a famous hairdresser. Now, she was also considered to be the queen of voodoo in New Orleans back in the day. Throughout the 1800s, people came to her for help, and she was very helpful with people, and even, you know, she was a very famous hairdresser. Now, she died on June the 15th in 1881 is when she passed. And notice, pay attention to the dates. They correlate very well. And she was of Louisiana Creole heritage as well. And like I said, she was a very famous hairdresser and not just known as the Queen of Voodoo. Now, Beyonce, she's a Virgo as well, and she was also born in September, on September 4th, 1981. Now, some of y'all may think this is a coincidence, but I firmly believe in past lives and reincarnation. It's been way too many stories, and also just look at how the dates correlate between them, and they have a lot of things in common, in my opinion. And Beyonce is also of Louisiana Creole heritage, and she pays homage to that as well in a lot of her songs and music videos. Just go back to the Deja Vu video. She incorporated that in her music video and listens to the lyrics of her songs. Even throughout the Lemonade era, she started to get more into her spirituality and African spirituality. And, you know, people can say it's evil or whatever. It's not evil. It's not. That's a white colonizer mindset, but that's another video. Now, I do understand some people can use their magic for evil, but it's voodoo or voodoo is a huge part of African culture and heritage. Do your research. It's nothing evil about it. Like I said, that's a white colonizer mindset. And as some of you all may know, Beyonce also has incorporated a lot of, you know, hairdressing and her, you know, things that she's done. And she also has released Sacred, the hair care brand. So I feel like a lot of things can come full circle and can correlate to your past lives, because I feel like now she's incorporating a lot of the material as far as appreciating black hair and showcasing black hair and uplifting black hair and the whole image of, you know, black women. Just look like a lot of us are in tune with our hair, but I feel like not enough of us know enough about our hair. So I feel like in this lifetime she's doing more for black women in regards to our hair care routines, learning more about our hair. You know, the more you reincarnate or incarnate, depending on your past lives, whatever past life you pick to be relevant in this lifetime. And I think she chose this. This is one of the ones she chose. So that's what I think. But this is why I think she was Marie Laveau or Laveau in one of her past lives. They just have a lot in common to me. I don't know. Y'all can let me know what y'all think.
This doesn't sound crazy. It sounds like the best compliment that I've ever had. If you do not know who Miss Marie Laveau is, you should find out. In short, she was one of the most powerful and prolific voodoo practitioners in history. The fact that we are 141 years past her transition and we are sitting here talking about her on TikTok is proof of that fact.
Want to get creeped out? Let's talk about Marie Laveau, Voodoo Queen of New Orleans. She was a Creole woman known for her skills in voodoo, herbalism, and midwifery. Her daughter, also named Marie Laveau, also dabbled in root work, conjuring, and various special practices. That being said though, I actually did a voodoo tour in New Orleans, and I'm gonna do a separate video on what I learned in New Orleans about voodoo. It was so interesting. Marie Laveau was born in the late 1700s in the French Quarter of New Orleans. Culturally, she had a mix of Catholicism as well as her mother's African traditions. She was said to run ceremonies in the Congo Square of New Orleans, whip up potions, and tell fortunes like nobody's business. People from all walks of life came to her, whether it was for healing or advice, or maybe some magic to settle a score. It was said she had eyes and ears all over town and was constantly gathering up secrets, which would have really helped with her fortune telling. How did Marie Laveau become this famous historical figure of spirituality and voodoo? She was a boss, okay? She was an entrepreneur. She ran a beauty parlor catering to the elite, where she did hair, but also picked up all the juicy gossip, really helping with her telling those fortunes. So she used this intel in her voodoo consultations. She married a man named Jacques Paris in 1819. He was a free man of color from Haiti, which at the time was Saint Dominique. They had 2 daughters together, but tragedy struck and Jacques passed away. Marie became known as the Widow Paris, and she continued her work, gaining fame for her mystical abilities and becoming a central figure of New Orleans, specifically in the spiritual scene, gaining a rep as a clairvoyant and selling charms. Like I said, I am going to have another video about what I learned about voodoo while I was in New Orleans, but what I will say in this video is that voodoo is so different from how it's seen today. It's actually called Vodou. It's actually very beautiful religion. But Marie Laveau was an entrepreneur. And sometimes being an entrepreneur means running with what someone labels you as. Sometimes that actually enhances your business. And Marie Laveau, well, she was smart enough to do that. She was more than just a mystical practitioner though. She also cared for many sick people during the yellow fever pandemic and tended to prisoners on death row. There were rumors about her using mysterious potions, but it is more likely that she stuck with Catholic traditions and prayers. One of the really interesting things that I learned about Marie Laveau while I was doing this voodoo tour in New Orleans was that her daughter also would go out as Marie Laveau. And people would say, like, Marie Laveau doesn't age. She's magic. She stays the same age. But really, it was her daughter being Marie Laveau II. Marie Laveau passed away in June 15th of 1881 and was said to be 79. But the whole town of New Orleans felt it when she passed away. Her funeral was massive, with people arriving from all walks of life. Marie Laveau has a lot of mystery that surrounds her. Her tomb in St. Louis Cemetery draws crowds, people just trying to touch a little bit of her magic. She's one of those living legends. She's a part of New Orleans' soul. There is this wild tradition where people will go and draw an X on her tomb, which please do not deface tombs. I do not support that whatsoever. But they will go draw an X on her tomb, hopefully with their finger, I'm hoping. And then they'll spin around 3 times and shout out their wish, hoping Marie Laveau will make their wish come true. There was even a punk rock band that was accused of trying to dig up Marie Laveau's body. Rock and roll, baby, don't do that, please. I'm not sure if that cemetery is currently closed, but it was closed because of the vandalism that would occur to her grave, whether it was people marking X's in it or someone colored it pink once, and that's so sad. I truly believe that these parts of history are so important and we should be able to enjoy them, but some people ruin it for everybody. Despite all of the myths and legends surrounding her, Marie Laveau was a force to be reckoned with. She was a woman of beauty, intellect, and charisma. You had to have charisma to run a beauty parlor as a woman of color to the elite in that time, get all this juicy gossip, and become a recognized voodoo queen. Anyways, that's it for this one, but follow along because I am going to be posting a video about what I learned about voodoo, and it's really interesting. Stay haunted.
Greetings, my friends. I am Marie Laveau. Today I shall weave for you the tale of my life, a life intricately woven with the spirits, the community, and the enigmas of New Orleans. My journey commenced in the enchanting thoroughfares of New Orleans, where cultures converged and the spirits whispered their secrets in every breeze. Some claim I was born in 1794, others assert it was 1801. The years may blur, but my purpose remained crystal clear. My lineage bore the fusion of African heritage and Creole lineage. Marguerite d'Arcantel and Charles Laveau brought me into the world. I married Jacques Paris, who vanished into the shadows, leaving me as the widow Paris. Thereafter, Jean-Louis Christophe Duminy de Glapion became my companion through life's ebbs and flows. To support my family, I delved into the world of hairdressing. Within its tapestry, I glimpsed the lives of the privileged, their struggles, and their concealed truths. Knowledge became my armor, guiding me to aid those who yearned for solace. Voodoo, a mosaic of spirituality woven from the threads of Dahomey and transplanted across oceans by the enslaved. In New Orleans, voodoo endured under the weight of oppression and scrutiny, yet its flame burned fiercely in the hearts of those who sought its refuge. As a queen, I stood as a guiding light. Seeking my counsel for matters of heart, law, and spirit, people formed a spiritual family. At my abode on St. Anne Street in Congo Square and by Lake Pontchartrain, we congregated, connected, and communicated with the realms beyond. St. Anne Street, a haven for conversations that transcended the mundane. Congo Square, where the enslaved and the free alike sought solace, finding respite from their burdens. And by Lake Pontchartrain, under the watchful gaze of spirits, we danced, sang, and fused our souls. Intrigued observers, lured by whispers of the arcane, ventured to witness our ceremonies. Tales of spirits and rituals grew in their retelling, yet they merely glimpsed the surface of our age-old practices. And thus, my dear listeners, my life intermingled with the spirits and the souls of New Orleans. As the Vodou Queen, I straddled the line between this world and the next, offering guidance, safeguarding, and healing to all who sought my presence. Remember, my friends, the depths of our traditions are richer than meets the eye. The spirits continue to guide us, their murmurs carried through the winds of time.
Yo, I'm over here looking at the actual photo of Marie Laveau. And like, when I look at her, I honestly see a Filipina who's possibly would be a Negro, not a Tagala, or whatever may be other Filipino tribes or clans. But this was like when New Orleans actually had Chinatown, which was from like the 1850s to the 1970s. And She has very long hair. She's not an ugly woman whatsoever. So she possibly came from someone who possibly was in the Battle of New Orleans. She probably married an actual railroad builder. Probably so, or probably not. It might be related to someone that actually helped out in the railroads. I'm learning my history of just being from New Orleans and everything, but I'm learning on my own, and I'm actually just embracing it and actually acknowledging the fact that New Orleans is one of those places where you could have found possibly what you would like to call the darkest Asians in America or on Earth, which is like not really true. But Asian influence was real big in New Orleans, Manila Village. So said that the Filipinos were there since the 1500s. Some say 1700s. But the proof is there. Some actually come from like railroad builders. Some actually come from the Japanese. But I just look at this and reflect like this is the real Marie Laveau. Like she don't look mean or nothing, but she look a little aggravated in spirit when I look at it. Like people didn't want to stop calling her the voodoo queen or something. I don't know. Interesting though. Just felt like I needed to share this. I wanted to share. Hopefully you enjoyed the photo of Marie Laveau.
To me, it took me by surprise almost, but then when you kind of think about it and look at it, they do resemble each other. And also, did you know that Beyonce has a church in New Orleans? She's Creole, just so you know, but she has a church in New Orleans where the people actually dedicate songs to Beyonce. Not just dedicate, but they sing to Beyonce. Like as if like Beyonce is one of the statues, the Jesus statue. You know what I mean? They sing praise and worship to Beyonce, to goddess Beyonce, goddess this and goddess that. And they really go all out with Beyonce over there. And she has, I believe she has a church or she has a mansion over there that is turned into a church or something, but it's not the same church. But the church that they sing to her and worship her is actually a mega church. So it's a really, really big church. Like when I was watching a documentary about the Beyonce church, I mean, people were like, oh, hell, Beyonce. You see, so here's the difference between me and other people. Not to say that I'm better or anything like that, you know what? But I don't like to do my practices with other people. You know how like they say, yes, your work gets stronger, but all of this extra thing, I don't like to do it because I like to be in my own zone. I like to be able to find the things where I need them. I don't need a whole coven to do the work because I feel my energy is strong enough. Well, maybe if it's for like other stuff, I might need one or two other people, but I do like to work by myself, But anyways, what was I gonna say? Yeah, so the whole New Orleans thing, Marie Laveau, I love her. And I believe that Marie Laveau is descendant of Haitians. Do your research. Don't come for me. Do your research. But I do believe she is descendant of Haitian, or she was married to a Haitian man. Because I have this book. It's called, let me show you. Okay, let's forget about the book for now. I did show the book before when I showed the passage of like the Medusa and all the African gods and goddesses and stuff. But because you guys know I just moved, so my books are still in boxes and I cannot find that book. But I do have it, and it talks about Marie Laveau, and it tells you all her stories. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she is descendant of Haitians, or her husband was Haitian. He came from Haiti and went to New Orleans, and that's how they met. But anyways, guys, that's my take on the whole Marie Laveau. I love her. Do your own research on her, and you can work with her also. Like I've worked with Marie Laveau before. She's really, really nice, and she do grant you what you request for. But of course, you gotta come correct. You gotta give her the right offerings. You gotta talk to her nice. Yes, and depending on who you are, if you approach a certain way, and you don't do the proper divination and, gratitude and proper offering, it might not be good for you. You might get the opposite of what you're asking for. So just do your research, and that is the reason why I like to show them, like, Ezuli Fuera, Ezuli Dantor, Shango. Oh, I will do a one on Shango. I actually had a cat named Shango. I named him after him. Excuse me. Yeah, so I like to cover them because I want you guys to understand and have knowledge of your ancestors and, the people who came before us, because they're still alive. Just like that lady said that Marie Laveau still walked the street. I believe it. I believe it. I wish I would have walked into her or run into her while I was there for like 7 days. I didn't. Hopefully the next time I go, I will see her. Okay, and hopefully it would be a good experience. All right, she might not recognize my face because I have a new face. Not have a new face, like when you change things up and you look different. But anyways, the soul will recognize me. So anyways, guys, I'll talk to you guys later. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.
Jonathan Greer arrived in New Orleans on a humid December evening, the air thick with mystery and the scent of spices wafting from street vendors. He'd always heard the city was alive, vibrant, chaotic, and teeming with life. But the night seemed darker than he expected, the streetlights casting long, ghostly shadows on the cracked cobblestones of the French Quarter. He had no business in New Orleans other than curiosity. A solitary traveler with a penchant for thrill-seeking, Jonathan sought the supernatural. Ghost tours, urban legends, and whispers of Marie Laveau, the voodoo queen herself, had lured him here. Yet the deeper he wandered, the less this felt like a vacation and more like a mistake. The streets were alive, but not in the way he'd imagined. Jazz music bled from hidden corners, the brassy notes sharp and haunting. In the dim light, groups of people gathered on stoops and corners, their voices murmuring in unison. Some burned candles and chalked strange symbols on the ground. Others held dolls with pins jammed into their forms. Jonathan felt the eyes of the locals trailing him as he passed. His footsteps quickened. He turned a corner, and there she was, a woman standing alone beneath the shadow of a wrought iron balcony. She wore a white dress that glowed faintly in the dim light, her head wrapped in a red tignon adorned with golden charms that seemed to catch non-existent light. Her presence was magnetic yet unsettling, as though she were both real and not. Jonathan froze. He knew her image from books and folklore, Marie Laveau. But that was impossible. She had died over a century ago. Lost, are we? Her voice was smooth, her Creole accent thick and melodic. Jonathan opened his mouth, but no words came. New Orleans has a way of swallowing lost souls. She continued, stepping closer. Her eyes locked onto his, dark and endless, like pools that could drown a man in his own fears. You walk these streets thinking you know what you're looking for, but you don't. I'm just here to see the city, he stammered. She chuckled softly, a sound that sent a shiver down his spine. The city sees you, Jonathan. How do you know my name? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. She tilted her head, her gaze piercing. I know many things, things you don't want me to know. Like the secret you bury deep, the one you carry with every step you take. Jonathan's chest tightened. He wanted to run, but his legs refused to move. Let me show you, she whispered, her voice like the wind through moss-covered trees. She reached out, her hand cold as it grazed his temple. In an instant, the world dissolved. He was no longer in the French Quarter, but standing in a swamp under a blood-red moon. The air was suffocating, the croak of frogs and the rustle of unseen creatures deafening. Around him, shadows moved, figures with hollow eyes and twisted forms whispering his name. He turned to run, but the ground beneath him rippled like water. He sank, the murky swamp pulling him down. In the distance, he saw her again, standing on the surface of the water as though it were solid ground. You can't escape, her voice echoed in his mind. You sought me out, and now you found me. But finding me means finding yourself, and the darkness you carry. Jonathan screamed as the swamp consumed him. Just before the water closed over his head, he heard her laughter, low and haunting. He awoke in his hotel room, drenched in sweat and shaking. The clock read 3:33 a.m. He bolted upright, his heart racing, but something on the nightstand caught his eye. A single white candle burned there, its wax pooling onto a small cloth. On the cloth was a doll, its face crudely stitched to resemble his own. Pinned to its chest was a note written in looping script. Welcome to New Orleans, Jonathan. You'll never leave.